Hello and welcome to an exclusive hands-on preview look at Splatoon 3. We are the boys from the Filthy Casuals podcast. Hello to anyone joining us for the first time. My name is Tommy Dasilo.
My name is Ben Vanel, and joining us, rounding out the trio,
the original Squid Kid, Adam Knox.
So, yes, Tommy and I were lucky enough to be invited to Nintendo to have a little hands-on demo with Splatoon 3. Comes out on September 9th, I believe, is the release date. But, yeah, we got to have a little look at it. So why don't we start up this footage and have a little chat? Let me know if this works for you, boys. If not, I'll have to have a little twiddle. But, yeah, here we go on 3, 2, 1, play.
I've got an inkling that this is working fine.
We should say too, Ben, you said me and you were invited out. Adam was also invited out, but he couldn't make it because he was in another country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in Scotland right now, and they serve up their squid kids with curry sauce over here. It's very different. Well, actually, mentioning the phrase "very different," I'll say straight away, this isn't. This looks like Splatoon 1 and 2 for sure, which are both great games.
Yeah. So this is the single player mode. This is me playing it, by the way, for all of the footage. And I was a little overwhelmed by this. I'd played Splatoon and played a few matches of the multiplayer, but not since Splatoon 2 came out. And I guess we were kind of not thrown in the deep end, but it was all a bit like, I don't know what you thought, Tommy. Just give it a crack, and someone will be maybe advising the person next to you, and it was all a bit confusing. But
yeah, it was good just then watching you struggle to get up the wall as you were like, I haven't really played too.
Yeah.
Because there was a moment, Adam, where the person leading the session was like, now, hands up, who's not really all that familiar with Splatoon? And I turned around thinking that Ben's hand might go up, but I think maybe pride got the better of him, and we were all thrown in the deep end of the.
I'm familiar with the multiplayer
levels.
modes, but I didn't know there was single player, which I guess is on me for
They've never
not
been
paying attention.
Particularly meaty. Any of the multiplayer modes they've had in, I think one barely had anything, and then 2 had.
Oh, the single, yeah.
Yeah, 2 had bits and pieces, but. It was a lot of this sort of stuff of a little kind of puzzle level and one of those vertical Roombas that you couldn't get past before and all that sort of not competitive, very kind of prop heavy laid out, a little less interesting gameplay than in the multiplayer modes.
I was a big fan of the single player in 1 and 2, and it kind of seems like incrementally with each of them, they've sort of lent a bit more into the fact that it does have a single player mode. I think it was really slept on in the first one. It wasn't very long. I think their real focus in the promotion of it is in the multiplayer stuff. But I feel like in this one, they're sort of leaning a lot more into the single player aspect of it in the marketing of it. And also definitely with this session that we had, we got to play through 3 of these levels. And there's a lot of other stuff going on in the single player in this that there kind of hasn't. It's a lot more fleshed out than it has been in the first 2.
Yeah.
And so,
yes.
Is your goal here to try and get to a certain point? Or are you trying to fly through those little onion rings, or what? Do you have an idea of what's meant to be happening?
I have an idea now, and that'll become more evident with the next bit of footage we see. But at this stage that you're seeing, I had no idea what I was doing or what the goal was. Apparently, the goal is to find 3 keys in this specific level and get to there's an end point somewhere. Not all of them need a certain amount of keys or whatever, but that's the goal. It's just to get to the end, and often there's a little puzzle platforming, shooting series of things to figure out and work your way through. But
I will say, there we go. The Trizuka is getting used with little. Fuck, I love the Splatoon chatter noise. The blah, 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 blah. Like a little Animal Crossing guy dying in a pool.
I got into I was never huge on the aesthetics of the games. But yeah, I think just through the enjoyment of doing like specifically the multiplayer stuff we do later in this video, I'm on board now. I really enjoyed it. I liked the charm of it.
Yeah,
I really got
all the
around
fashion stuff that's in it too is really cool. The music, once again, is really great. They really are going really in on the lore of the Splatoon world, especially in this.
You listened
Ben
to
and
her.
I accidentally
She
both
told you
it
doesn't look like a simple jump will get you there, and you went, "Don't worry about that. I'll have a complicated fall."
Ben and I both kind of accidentally went into a bit that we weren't meant to go into.
Oh, yeah.
And the Nintendo rep was like, "Oh, you can't talk about what you're seeing here." And I wanted to go, "No worries, I have no idea what I'm even looking at," because it was very like Splatoon universe lore heavy. I was like, I don't think I could relay this to someone if my life depended on it.
Do you know, I remember when we went to see Super Mario Odyssey at Nintendo as well. We did the same thing. Accidentally went to a level. They were like, "Oh, this isn't, just ignore this. Pretend you didn't see one of the levels from Mario 64 secretly put in here."
Oh, right.
Remember that? That was pretty cool.
I don't, but I mean, they're very trusting, Nintendo, although they do make you sign a contract, so, you know.
And they may demonetize this video because we've got the footage of their game. So, oh no, this guy
my little
again.
Friend. I figured him out now. I literally didn't know
look,
what it was when I was first encountering it.
See, at this point you're a pro. It's awesome having like a PR rep behind you, just like giving factoids out from the game. And having to like use the official jargon of all the stuff. Being like, now jump through these powerful calamari rings, not just like someone going like, go through that little fucking thing there. Just having to pause and consult the fact sheet that she had on hand.
Yeah.
Now this is a new weapon in 3.
Right. New weapon, and this is a couple of levels later. I actually loved this weapon. I used it for a bit in the multiplayer stuff. It's like a little triple bowcaster thing. Loved that this is basically just a cum level. No one addressed it in the room, but man, you're really splatting a lot of spoof around.
God, the vibe, there would have been a huge shift if someone had have just interrupted, just put their game on pause to be like, can everyone just put down their controllers so you can hear what I'm saying? Bit of a cum level, isn't it?
Pretty weird that they made a level out of my bed sheets, isn't it, everybody here at Nintendo? Because this is what they look like, covered in cum, you see, drenched.
It was like a good little crew, you know. It was a bunch of like 35 to 40-year-old white men.
Yep.
I feel like they would have been down for it. But yeah, by this point, I've been playing for like, 15, 20 minutes, and I'm starting to actually enjoy it and not be completely overwhelmed by these mechanics. And even just like the going into the ink to move a little faster and to refill your ammo was something that I had to get back to grips with.
Right.
I mean, really never like got to that point in playing the game of being, second nature with the controls. But I certainly had by this point, and I was really enjoying myself.
The swimming around feels really fun.
It's fantastic. And
great little mechanic.
once you get, because it looks like it's off here, the sort of gyro aiming as well, but that was a big thing, especially in the first one. That was the first kind of shooter I remember having that gyro aiming, which nowadays some people swear by for every, at least controller using shooter. And it takes a little bit of time to sort of come to an understanding with, but it does feel great in Splatoon once you crack that, much like this level, crack that nut.
Yeah, right. No, I turned it off straight away because I don't think I've ever used it in anything. But I know, like, Tommy, you use that quite a bit.
Yeah, I was using
shooters.
it, yeah. So this gun, we should say, it fires, it's lengthwise, and you can make it go vertical if you jump while shooting it. So you can...
Oh, that's how
Right,
interesting. That's a funny way of doing that thing, because there's often, horizontal, vertical kind of guns in a few games, and you pull a different trigger to, their alt fire or whatever is to switch the orientation. Having a jump is kind of a cool way of doing that.
There's kind of different weapons altered the controls. Like, I think I use double handguns at one point, and they allow you to do like a dodge roll while you're shooting. Which, yeah, I think it's like, there's like completely different play styles based on your weapons, which is, not always the case with shooters, but I guess there's a lot to come to grips with, but it means there's like a pretty good amount of variety.
There's quite a fair amount of weapons in too as well. So I remember in that sort of quite lengthy, I guess it was a direct that they put out not that long ago. It looks like they're chucking a fair few back into 3 as well, because the Splatoon games are so weird with how their like sequelization works, because all this stuff in any other game other than Splatoon would probably have just been incremental updates and DLC and battle passes and seasons and whatever.
Yep.
Very old-fashioned kind of like, hey, here's Splatoon 3. It's an add-on to Splatoon 2, essentially.
They're just... Yeah. Now, we should say that last bit in that level, the Nintendo rep did have to come over and say, now, this bit was very difficult. This actually took me ages to work out how to do. And I said, well, if it took you ages to do, then cancel your evening plans, because then everyone else in the room had finished it and was just literally waiting for me to pull off the tricky timing of shooting what is it? It's like the charge up thing on that is like a bomb that then detonates and
it's a little timed bomb.
Right.
Here's the...
And now we're in a turf
Here's
war.
the shit. This is why you're here. If you've never played any of the Splatoon games before as well, it's worth pointing out that the difference between them and a regular shooter is you're trying to cover as much of the map here with paint as you can, or with ink.
And you can shoot each other.
Yes.
And they did mention several times in our little playtest, like, hey, remember, you're not necessarily trying to shoot each other, just cover the floor with ink. And then all of the Nintendo employees who were there playing it along with us just fucking destroyed us. Just all they did was blow our fucking heads off with ink.
It was awesome. The Nintendo employees were like really so happy when they won a match against us, and it's like, this is your job. Like, you should be good at this.
I played this once in the past forever. So but
so what number am I? I'm player 3.
Yes.
I don't know if you see me on the map much at all. And player 2 is the editor of Kotaku was on our team with us.
That's right.
Yeah, right.
And then a bunch of Nintendo people on the opposing team.
Yes.
Well, it makes sense that they win as well, not even necessarily because they work at Nintendo, but because they're playing a bunch of what are games journalists, am I right?
Ironically, the Nintendo employees were the ones who lacked ethics. But yeah, I enjoyed this. I hadn't played it for fucking like, I don't know, what, 4 years?
I think it's
however long. When was Splatoon 2? Longer.
I think it might have been 4
2018?
or 5 years, yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
And they had that expansion not that long ago, but yeah.
And, not much has changed. It's such an addictive type of game, too, because, like, that thing of just filling in walls and floors with a goo, if you have a goo shooter in a game. I remember in Portal 2 with the, like, sort of jumping goo, I went around one of the levels and just covered every single wall in white. And then afterwards I started playing Portal 2. But it's such a satisfying thing to do, and building a game around it in a very Nintendo-y way was a very, very clever thing to do back in, 2015 when Splatoon came out, and it's no wonder they haven't changed it.
Yeah, I think as a format, it's a very Nintendo format in that it's still, you can still have fun playing it even if you're not very good at it. It's not like you're just like being, respawned in the level and then shot immediately and just like not having a good time. Like you can kind of fly under the radar pretty easily and just swim around and still have a good time even if you're not, that good at taking people out.
You're right.
You
There's
can
so
still
many
feel like you're having
sort
a
of
contribution to the match.
so many class-based shooters where you've got different roles that it'll tell you're a medic or an engineer or whatever, that all kind of end up feeling pretty similar but with different weapons. In this game, you really can actually put yourself in like a support role. Yeah.
This was a sweet moment where the Nintendo rep was like, "Oh, who's it going to be?" And it was like, "Yeah, that's very generous of you, but."
There's lots of new
Don't patronize
customization
us.
stuff as well. I
There's
remember
heaps.
seeing, you can choose so many different costumes and a ton of different ways to make your weapons look, I believe, and things like that. And they all look all right.
Yeah.
They're of like an aesthetic that is pretty specific, like that sort of very rich skater punk kind of thing, like dad's money
Yeah.
skater. But it
I liked
looks
it.
great
I
in
think
this game.
we both did some customization, Tommy. There was, a bunch of options in just like the base. I don't know if you unlock that stuff, but even if you do, there already seem to be a bunch available. And like you were saying before with the number of weapons knocks, there's like 3 pages of like 12 to a page or something. Like there's heaps. There was so many. And kind of like in direct opposition to the sort of different classes, same gameplay thing of a lot of FPS, multiplayer shooters. This is like everyone's the same class, but you pick a weapon and it actually changes the way you approach a level.
Right, they are pretty
Yeah.
significantly different. This is Salmon Run, right? This mode.
This is
we're looking
Salmon
Salmon
Run,
Run,
the Horde mode, where you got to kill people and collect eggs and then chuck them in your egg basket, which was not a mechanic I understood until I think this is our second go through of it.
Right.
I was like, oh, you got to get the eggs and throw them in. I guess I was not listening to any of the instructions or advice.
The way
So
that
this
you
was my
guys paint
favourite-
this, like you've both walked into into Nintendo wearing earmuffs, like whatever, just eating fucking food, getting the controllers
You
all
don't have
sticky.
to sign a. You don't have to sign an NDA or an embargo if you have literally no idea what's been going on in front of you.
Yeah, please
So,
don't
yeah,
tell
this-
anyone
I-
about level 10. I couldn't if I tried.
It was too much
This-
information, if anything. I was genuinely totally overwhelmed by how much info was getting thrown our way because so much of it was kind of superfluous. It was a lot of story stuff, world stuff, a lot of jargon and names of things that even if you love the game, you're probably not taking notice of what all of the creatures' names
Right,
are
right.
and all
Right.
of that sort of thing.
So this was probably my favorite of the things that we played.
Yes, me too.
Today in the session, this
Me
mode's
too.
really fun. This is back from 2. I enjoyed it in 2, but in 2 it was timed, so there would be
Yes.
scheduled hours out of the day that it would be live that you could play it, and in 3 it's just going to be you can play it whenever, which is great news because it's really fun and a very strange mechanic in 2 to have it limited when you could play it.
It was
but,
my absolute least
yeah.
favorite thing about that game because they did it with the multiplayer maps as well. They would be on a rotation of I think a 2-hour window. And then you had to go look up on the Nintendo fucking companion app thing on your phone what the schedule was and when Salmon Run was going to be active. And that was just a fucking nightmare. Do you know anything about, how... I mean, I assume that it's still using that Nintendo Online app for a lot of the multiplayer stuff, but did you notice if they'd added in any in-game sort of extra friend tracking and whatever sort of stuff?
I think a lot of our matches were set up using... Well, they were all LAN. So it was all...
Yeah, we were
pe-
playing
people,
locally.
People... Yeah, it's all connected together. So it was just, choosing whoever started the match, joining their match. So, yeah, not sure about online. But, yeah, certainly Salmon Run at least was no longer scheduled. It was just a normal mode of a game.
Yeah.
Right.
Which this is the mode I can probably see myself spending the most time in outside of the single player.
I loved it. I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It feels like horde
So you got
modes
your-
like this as well have kind of gone out of vogue, especially in the battle royale kind of wave that we seem to be on the other side of. It seems to have happened in between Splatoon releases, all the battle royale stuff. So there was never
Right,
even any
yeah.
chatter of Splatoon 3 gonna have a battle royale mode.
True.
But
No, I like that they've committed to this semi-old-fashioned one. Because I mean, it's the point is co-op. I love that's you're facing off against these funny little monsters as a team, and then just the satisfaction of the enemies when you kill them, they pop and the eggs. It's just very tactile and really well designed, well put together.
And the thing I like about this mode is you probably have been able to tell from the video, but your weapons are randomized at the start of each wave of the horde. So again, it's kind of a nice way of going in and sort of similar to the single player. A lot of the levels kind of dictate what weapons you can use. So it's kind of a good way of just sort of sampling everything without the pressure of feeling like you have to get the perfect loadout
Right.
ready to go.
Yeah.
Like you did on that other level, got the perfect loadout. I really enjoy modes that will rotate you through all of the weapons in the game. I often find, especially with multiplayer shooters, but with shooters in general, there's often at least one or two, but usually quite a few weapons that are basically pointless. And I love having a reason to use those ones and get to sort of see everything that's in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think when I just first like loaded up into like a lobby or whatever, I had been given the bucket of ink, and it was just like, oh, this is not, I thought I was gonna have the little, splatter shooter, like little semi-automatic, and so I was a bit annoyed by that and switched away from it immediately. But in this, it's like, oh yeah, using the bucket to kill 4 enemies at once, that's actually really, really useful.
It looks pretty much exactly how I remember Splatoon 2 looking, which is good looking, but just I think obviously technically they've sort of hit a limit of what's possible to do on the Switch as hardware, so I'm not surprised.
While keeping everything running fluidly,
right?
So many things on screen moving around in this multiplayer mode. So, yeah, that was our little teaser taste test with Splatoon 3. Yes, I agree with the visuals, Nox. It's happened with other good recent games that have come out on Switch where it's like, okay, well, that's as good as it's going to get for now. But design-wise and aesthetically, I think it looks good. And yeah, it did run well, which is kind of the main thing for a multiplayer shooter.
Right. And it's
it's
cool
very smooth when you're in the matches.
It's cool that Splatoon's back because those like making Salmon Run not time limited is great, but they have those Splatfests as well that are those kind of events that are always pretty fun. Of like, who do you like, ketchup or mustard better? And I'm excited for a new batch of relevant Splatoon things to happen. It's a good, fun series of games that it looks like they've made another one of.
Yeah, what's the deal? Yeah. There's a Splatfest this weekend, apparently.
Yeah, there's like a demo version going up, and it's a pre-release. Everyone can download it for free, Splatfest. And I think it's a 3-way one. They've got 3-way Splatfests now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's rock, paper, scissors.
Paper, scissors, they were telling us.
I couldn't remember if it was just a number 2 Splatfest or but that's cool that it's like the pre-release version of 3, which is what we played, and still like performance-wise held up really well. So that's Splatoon 3. That's our little early look.
Yeah. When is the game itself out?
September the 9th.
Okay.
Friday, September the 9th.
So pretty soon.
It's out on the Switch. And thank you guys for watching the video. Check out some of our other stuff on the channel if this is the first time you've checked out any of our videos. And also we've got the podcast, Filthy Casuals. We do that every week. We talk about new releases. We talk about news. And you can find us on any of the podcast apps that you might have. Thanks for joining us.
Goodbye.
Splat on.